Peace. In the name of Allah, I'm Aubrey Muhammad. I pray that everyone is well. Hempstead, family, friend, and believers, welcome to my live session. The structure for Black Mecca in Hempstead. I'm over here again at Eisenhower Park. Again, it's beautiful out here, nice and cool. I'm in the shade. There's a big event going over there too. They're in the amphitheater. There's nothing to look at. I'm at no event. I'm over here in the bushes. I'm on bleachers over here. This is the green bleachers facing nothing. We got a whole bunch of bleachers over here by the memorial. So it's beautiful out here. That's why I came out again to enjoy this beautiful day. I hope you're in the park today enjoying yourself, taking a relief and a relax after worship and greatness, because we are great. I think you may hear the little golf pings behind me. They play a little hitting a golf ball. What is it, 6:06? Just give a few minutes for folks to come in. But relatively, updates from last session was nothing else in Hempstead except it was the August 6th meeting. I updated y'all on that, and there's no immediate follow-up on that subject of Hempstead converting into a city, going on at Village Hall this week. But it is a special meeting at Village Hall, 5:30 Tuesday. It's 5:30 Tuesday, and that's regards to the purchase of fire trucks. That's on the agenda, purchase of fire trucks. I think I saw 2 of them. And Nassau County's gonna contribute $100,000, but it's all game. That stuff ain't for us. And big fire trucks is for a city type when they have bigger skyscrapers. So they're always sneaking stuff in on us. Hempstead. I hope everybody's day is super well. And, you know, speaking of Hempstead, and I will be going before the weather gets, before the summer's over this August, I will be going into Hempstead, into the parks and stuff, and, you know, different venues and stuff, to be discussing specifically Hempstead with people around the Hempstead. But these little chat sessions here is mainly, you know, little simple lives to get the information out, to update y'all every week and discuss, you know, stuff that's on my mind, you know. I think it's 6:08, so about ready. So, and you gotta call me again this week. I'm on my 48-hour fast. Excuse me. I fast 48 hours at the end of each week. I've been doing it a while, but right before, like a year before the pandemic, like 2018, 2019, yeah, right, I slacked off and I started putting on pounds. Almost hit 200. That was 197, man. And luckily, I still exercise every other day, you know, but I should lift weights every day, exercise, walk. I got that left ankle injury. That's called tendinosis. That's like a sports injury. I think it's like a pitcher's shoulder, a tennis elbow. You know, when you walk and carrying burdens, you get sprains. It's tendonitis. But when you continue those sprains, they don't heal. That's tendinosis. That's serious. That's lifelong injury. You know, joggers get under the foot, that muscle, that pad of muscle, that plank or something like that. I forgot what it's called. But take care of yourself. Check yourself out, your health. I still got one more segment to go on that. Developing a healthy self-image, mind, body, and soul, part 2. That's going to be dealing with the body. That's with my massage therapist, Jackie Hill. So that'll be coming very soon. But today we're dealing with Hempstead as a Black Mecca. You know, and what's the steps of the structure? The steps is we cannot build anything empowering ourselves. And it's been we have been tricked into this in Atlanta. I'm going to use Atlanta as an example. All of us, we literally almost migrating back there to Atlanta. And we feel that we are empowered there. It's superficial, it's ceremonial. We don't own land a lot of land in Atlanta. Not a lot of us. The last 100 years, Black America, we have been robbed of 12 million acres of land in the South alone. And there's more around the country. So in Hempstead, the structure is for control. You cannot build on what you don't control. You know, we're in Hempstead. Our board, the village board, has sold us out. The school board has capitulated to everything our miseducators have put on us. That's why we go so low. They require on graduation rates. Many of those are Latina students who are happy to learn English and are happy to get American education. They are more ambitious people. I'm talking about native Black Americans who are failing miserably in this country, collectively. Individually, you see, you know, examples and spurts of our excellence and stuff, but I'm talking collectively. We are underclass in America, collectively. In the Hempstead, our village board have capitulated to every sellout possible, everything. We have been devitalized for over two decades, but severely 15 years ago, paying wealthy outside apartment owners property taxes to over $20 million a year. That's devitalization. That money supposed to go towards cultivating, investing in the people in the community, the residents, to build us. You keep hearing me use the term cultivation. That's what all successful people in America do. Cultivation. Why? Because they're in control of their atmosphere. They control their arena, their neighborhoods. We do not resemble a neighborhood. We resemble a colony. We're an overtaxed, over-policed colony. We resemble a 16th century colony. Or 17th century colony. That's when the Tea Party came up in Boston. They said taxation without representation is tyranny. But we are being overtaxed with a black tax, paying someone else's taxes, and being misrepresented. That misrepresentation is tyranny, and it sure is. Look how they act. They silence you. They censor us when we come in the village hall and to meetings. Waylon Hobbs has the attitude of a tyrant. All that snappiness and snapping at people and do this, and he's got that arrogance in him because he's controlled. And you don't have your own way and will and mind, and you're doing the will of others, your self-accusing spirit kicks your own ass. And your self-accusing spirit is whipping on you, brother. You got to come out of that. Black people, we have a self-accusing spirit. That's the thing that's in us. That's this guilt in us that makes us feel bad after doing something, real bad, and shame. That's what we use on each other. It has been weaponized against us. We call it the Holy Ghost, too, when we express it, because we aren't being ourselves. So we're confused and lost and scattered about. So our village board does not control Hempstead. They are not our representatives. To make a Black Mecca for any group to control their community, you have to control the governing body, the governing board, and the school board. You go to Chinatown. They are so economically strong. Asians just recently get into public office. They've always controlled their community. They control their politicians. We submit, we admire our politicians because they are so ceremonial. They're tokens. So we look at them with admiration as a position. Black Americans, native Black Americans, too many of us, who built the country I'm talking about for hundreds of years, held hostage on plantations to build the country, and have gotten nothing in return except the worst experience any people have ever experienced in the annals of history. That's us. In Chinatown. Their economics, they control the politicians. They were never the politicians. They were always local politicians that did their will. Look at the recent crime bill against Asians. That broke in like 5 days. All the politicians came protecting them. Black Americans, we have no crime. The crime bill is used against us. I mean protection bill. The hate crime bill. That's what I meant. I said crime bill. Hate crime bill. So-called hate crime bill. They put a crime bill on us. They use the bills against us. But these other groups they get specific protection. The alphabet group, the LGBT community, they got legislation that protects them. But with us, we're scattered about with everyone else because we accept ceremonialism and tokenism. Go to the Italian neighborhood. Them Italian people, even the mob started getting into politics. I think that was Gambino that started running for political office as a mobster, an open mobster. The Greek community in Queens is powerful. I used to buy suits from there, brand new suits. Working for my stepfather. He was buying them wholesale. That was Reverend Moon people. I think that's Astoria, right off the bridge, off the, what bridge is that? The RFK bridge. That used to be the Triborough. Right. It's the RFK bridge. Right out of it, when you're coming into Queens, to the right is that Dunkin' Donuts and a little train station there, the elevated train station. Well, you make a left, and you go back in that community, that's a Greek neighborhood. You just can't walk through there doing what you want. You just can't put up businesses in there. So we have to control the businesses in our community. And this is why people push us around, because we don't have we haven't been cultivated. These people have their culture. They speak their own language. They speak Greek. And the Asians go into Flushing. I remember Flushing back in the 80s. Asians started coming into Flushing. Right? Main Street. I used to go out there to visit Tashim and Fred. It was in a group home. We all got out of Lincoln Hall. And in the 80s, they were in a group home. I got out and because I was supposed to went to a private school, but I didn't. Went to high school and got out in the street like that. When I went into Flushing, that Asian community, they were in there. We were mixed. They were quiet as hell. They had restaurants. And now, you can't even find an English sign on Main Street Flushing. The bus signs, everything. You're lucky to find an English sign. I know some Asians in Flushing. They got it tight there. And then when you go to other Jewish neighborhoods, I ain't got to mention Jewish neighborhoods. Forest Hills, Brooklyn, Williamsburg. They lock down their communities. They take control of their community. This is what we need to model in a community. We need to stop modeling politicians and celebrating Obama as an individual celebration. You hear me? Obama was the ultimate token, the ultimate ceremonial stuff. This is all we get in Hempstead. Ceremony after ceremony, all these parades. Nothing tangible, nothing institutional to create generational wealth, to cultivate, refinement, and build, protect, expand, and grow. Our growth is so successful, we're so prosperous in our businesses, educating our people, that we expand. We are displaced. We are pushed around at will. Because in Hempstead, that board is controlled by outsiders who plan on building generational wealth for themselves. They've been doing this to us the last 100 years. And my point about us coming into control is that in order for us to build anything significant, because Atlanta's going to fail. They're going to displace us from Atlanta. They lowered the cost of living. That's all done through taxes, interest rates, and paying people taxes. We're lured there, just like we were lured up here, into the north, into the cities after World War II. We were lured here. Into the cities, Detroit, New York. In a town where we have to build and invest our dollars, if you don't control and you have your buildings there, they will gentrify. This is how gentrification works. You don't control your area, so outsiders and planners and developers, they look at your village and say, look, we're going to make a new this time for this population. We're going to move these out. And how did they do that? We had all them black families here in the 60s and 70s. And we got up out of high school, we graduated. The first thing we do, this is a culture we have to stop. We have to call ourselves establishers. We have to do things, banking. We have to do planning. We have to do investment in the spirit of establishment, of establishing something. That way, if we do, after decades, we decide to sell, it'd be our sale, and not letting anyone just bring all type of immigrants in the community. Them developers and them planners love immigrants, especially illegal immigrants. All immigrants are easy to push around. All immigrants, except for maybe Jamaican. And yeah, but the hardest coded immigrants we have in America, in New York, I'm speaking New York, and Long Island from my experience, is from Jamaica. People from Jamaica are pretty much hard. You just can't push a brother and sister from Jamaica around in New York. And all these other immigrant groups, they push them around. And mainly from Honduras, and in Hempstead, it's Honduras and Ecuador were the latest immigrants here, many undocumented. And why do planners and developers bring in immigrants into a community that they're planning on gentrifying? They make it easy to push them around. So you see them being moved out, so you move out. You say, well, everybody's moving. Everything has been devitalized. Well, it's been devitalized on purpose because we didn't control our board. We didn't control our politicians. Our politicians are beholden to others who don't have our best interests at heart. They're always aiming us low. So we got to get control of the board. That's very important. You see our people with these big ideas, these grand ideas. You never see us building, buying blocks. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when the mosque on 116th Street, that was the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't just buy one little store. He started with one store, and he used to sweep the floor of the little store. Malcolm used to say, I want to snatch the broom out of his hand. Don't let the messenger sweep the floor. But the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was humble. He saw an enterprise. He saw a nation. That's why we're nationalists, because we got that spirit in us. And you need to become nationalists too, just like everybody else. All of them practices. All of a sudden, they come to Black Americans, nationalism, industrialness, cultivation, it becomes taboo to us. Militancy becomes taboo. The Second Amendment was always denied to us. When you establish something and you build an institution, you have to be able to protect it. This is why we've lost everything. Essence magazine and Ebony, BET, that was owned by Bob Johnson. He even bought an airline, I believe it was. They set him up. These people are diabolical and wise, and they just don't plan for the next week. They just don't plan for the day. They plan for generations, for theirs to be on the top and to offer your wealth, off of you serving them. And you're a willful, collaborative laborer. Black Hempstead, mainly of us, we are laborers and consumers. It's our spirit. Black Hempstead, the bulk of us, who are survivors, the ones of us that are still here. We're 45% of the population of Hempstead. Those of us that have survived still here. And those aren't long-term people. That's new black people coming in too. Those that call ourselves black. Well, designate ourselves black on the census. We didn't own. We didn't control the board, so the outsiders came in and said, let's take control of this and let's swindle it from them. And how did they swindle it? They devitalized us. They never discussed it with us. They never explained it to us. I just learned this a couple of years ago. I didn't know what POLIS was, payment in lieu of taxes for wealthy business owners that ain't creating no incentive in the community, ain't creating industry, ain't creating sustainable jobs, substantial jobs. I didn't know what that was. So now, for us to take control, we got to have a code. We have to have a black agenda that holds these politicians responsible. Right now, this board, the Hempstead Village Board, under our black agenda would be worthy of impeachment, where we snatched them out of them seats and we put in place people who are accountable to us for creating. And they have to take an oath that you under the code and that you want to build institutions to create generational wealth, because they're not. And then once we get control, we have been tricked. all these black businesses, they look fine, don't they? We lost them all. Def Jam, Fat Farm, and a host of others. All these black businesses, all these black enterprises, because we didn't have an established area to protect them. So that control is first, and that's significance. And I keep going over this because anything you build, it's all eye candy, it's all optics. It's nothing substantial because it's not protected by us militantly. And they get to change our communities at will. They get to twist the dial on interest rates. They get to twist the dial on rent. You know? And once we get control of our communities, that's our local politicians that are set to a black agenda. We need a black agenda dealing with especially smaller communities that are easier to control because you can see what's going on. Hempstead is a big village. Hempstead is the biggest village in America, off the record. On the books, the second largest village in New York State, behind Freeport, on the books. But off the books, we are the biggest one. The population they have on the books, but 55,000. It's more like probably 80, 90,000, could be. And once we get control, we get to see what's going on. And then we know what's happening to us, you know? And these politicians and these planners and these developers have gotten away with pushing us around because they have created alienating politicians and alienating police. These politicians don't serve us. They give lip service. It's all these ceremonies in Hempstead. No community bank opening. No community factories open. No culturally relevant schools. You know, and nothing for us. All you get is positions, and you also applaud the positions. You all congratulate each other. And it's all subsidized by our tax dollars. This must stop. This has got to change. It's all ceremony. And we're so proud of it to get a certificate. It's got to be substance, ownership. They just gave away 32 acres of land. They're looking to take more. And that village board gleefully, gladly, they feel purpose to give it away. Developers who hate us because they frighten us of our potential. They know our potential. And then once we take control, once we get control and we ensure it under a black agenda that these politicians serve us and they're held accountable under that agenda, then we build. It makes no sense to build. They're going to take it. That's all they do is take from us. Everything. Look at Antia National Black Theater in Harlem. The mosque used to be there. Mosque number 7. Which I got off the subject. I'm sorry about this, y'all. I got off the subject about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Harlem. He didn't just buy some little store. When the mosque number 7 on 116th Street got torched by the FBI. That's FBI agents. This is after the murder of Malcolm X by FBI stooges. And some FOI who were collaborating with them. Agents, collaborators. After the mosque on 116th was burnt down by the FBI on that corner, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he didn't retaliate. You know what he did? He bought the whole block and rebuilt it. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is now the Shabazz Mosque. You know the dome Shabazz Mosque? I think Imam Wafi Muhammad named it the Malcolm Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz Mosque at 116th Street. Well, in the 70s, in the 60s, when it was burnt down, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't retaliate. He said, leave Malcolm's followers alone. He knew they were FBI stooges. He knew his ranks were honeycombed with agents. He bought the whole block. He got restaurants and clean all type of stuff we have up there. That's still standing. Well, we lost some of it at 116th Street. That's how we must do it. And now, when you buy the property, these people, they do eminent domain. They come up with all these plans, and they have these immigrants that are easily pushed around, and they're doing commonplace. Most of those are Spanish businesses. That strip mall is entirely Spanish, Latino, in Hempstead. And the 2 homes are Spanish, Latina. They easily gonna go. they easily gonna capitulate with them. I think they're arguing, negotiating probably their lease. That's it. After I spoke to them, after this, I've been speaking to people to take a stand and be more collective. But they're opportunists. They're coming looking for opportunity. So they're pushed around. And black-owned businesses, what have they done? They've rented us out. They have displaced us through rent. All the black businesses in Hempstead have been displaced because of high rents. All they did is jack up your rents. Why? Because the people who own your buildings are paying the property taxes of wealthy outside apartment owners. It's displacement. It's a sick game. They've been playing on us, and it's going around all across the country. All you other folks around the country listening in, brothers and sisters, LA, Florida, Miami, Chicago, Georgia, please pay attention to what's happening in Hempstead, because it just happened with a blink of the eye. Magicians, they have taken Harlem and Brooklyn from us. We never owned it. Why? Because we trusted these rotten-ass politicians. Charles Rangels and them. They've never spoken out against gentrification. No one. They've never heard anyone from Harlem speak of the negative effects and oppose. They may have spoken of the gentrification because they had it on the front page of the New Yorker magazine in the 90s. That rubber you see on the New Yorker magazine, the change the face of Harlem. This was New Yorker magazine in the 90s. That picture, that FOI with the final call on 125th Street, that was Brother Percy. May Allah be pleased with him. With the leather jacket and the dress hat. The FOI and the suit and the leather jacket. And his Percy. They did an article. Well, they were basically sugarcoating gentrification to change the face. It's not the change in face. It's a well thought out, multi-cogged, well-oiled plan by planners and developers and financiers to keep us a permanent underclass at the bottom. And we displaced from Harlem. Well, you come out here to Long Island. You come out to Hempstead from Harlem. And now you're being displaced from Hempstead because they jacked up the rents, because we keep letting them get away with this. My mother's being displaced at the Avalon right now. They discontinued her lease, April Fool's Day. That's the Devil's Day, a day we dedicated to fooling people, April 1st. They discontinued her lease, told her she had 2 weeks ago to get out. So she's in limbo right now, looking for another place. And you know what they have jacked up her rents to? For 2-bedroom apartment. And it's not, the Avalon Westbury is not a luxury apartment. That apartment is luxury, it's decent, it's in between decent and luxury. They want $4,600 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. And that's not including amenities, electric, gas, water, sewage. And if you want reserved parking, garage, the gym, all of that stuff goes well over $5,000 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment and a luxury slash decent apartment. Excuse me a second. We didn't protect Harlem. The mosque is still there because Minister Farrakhan bought the mosque. He paid off the mortgage. I remember it was 300 something. The final payment was like 300 something $1,000. Excuse me again, y'all. Put on this lip balm. You know, I make this lip balm. All natural. Because I used to lose the chapsticks and the other Burt Bees lip balm. That stuff was $3 a stick. I used to lose. I used to pay no $3 anymore. All natural lip balm, all natural hair, oil, all natural body balm. I'm going to make my soaps and other products too. And we were in Harlem. No one was protecting us. What happened to Charles Rangels? None of them stood up. And Adam Clayton Powell, I believe, that's his district, that main one. No, he beat Charles Rangels, didn't he? Excuse me again. You heard from none of those politicians. And a lot of politicians up in Harlem have immigrant backgrounds. They don't care about us, man. They only care about opportunity, self-realization. Self-realization, personal goals. These are your politicians. They don't give a damn about us. You got displaced for Harlem, now you're looking for housing in Hempstead. Now you're coming to Hempstead, you're being displaced from Hempstead. And the beat goes on. The cycle goes on. I stopped the damn beat. The beat ain't going on with me. I'm here to stop it, oppose it. We have to establish ourselves. You see? That's the importance of controlling your politicians. That is the basis, the foundation. If you ain't willing to do that, and have consequences for them, punish them. You sell us out, you pay. We have to punish them so they feel the pain of betraying our people by these planners and investors and financiers and developers, aiming to keep us a permanent underclass. That's what they need to be charged with. So you left Harlem, you come out to Hempstead, and you're in limbo, just looking around for a job, or if you're being subsidized, got a stipend from some retirement, whatever it is, which a lot of people do. Just be broken. Because we don't have establishment. We don't have companies and wealth to pass on as generational wealth. You know, I've been in a penthouse on Park Avenue where the owner had the whole top floor. It's like a quarter of a city block. Your apartment, well, I guess a house, penthouse. And that family, if their son, if the father's son or a nephew or somebody wanted to start a career or get in an investment or even just have a loan or something, that man could go on the wall and pluck a painting off the wall. And back then in the 90s, when I witnessed it, them paintings was worth more than people's houses back then. Them paintings was worth your house. A whole hallway full of paintings. Imagine having that type of wealth. Where your son comes to you, Dad, I want to start a business. I want to buy a house. I want to refinance something. I want a loan. And you walk down your hallway and you pluck a painting off the wall. And you go sell it. They have increase in value. And then you get your insurance and you get your assets assessed off that value. Then you can take loans out on that. Don't you know Bill Cosby told that to Oprah Winfrey? And he did it, not tongue-in-cheek. Tongue-in-cheek is when you're saying something ironic, being sarcastic. On the low. He was pulling, not on the low, he was pulling Oprah's, what's that saying? Let me pull your coat. Pull your coat means, let me tell you what's up. Psst, let me tell you about this. This is what's going on. They're not saying it, but I'm going to tell you, this is between us. And if you hear that little noise in the background, that's the children playing sports. And Bill Cosby told Oprah, he said, and he whispered to her on his when she was interviewing him, he said, invest in artwork. Invest in that expensive artwork. And he said vintage antique artwork and vintage antique, he said antique furniture. He told Oprah that. He said, Oprah, invest in vintage, I don't know if the exact word, but this is what he said, in vintage artwork and antique furniture. This antique furniture is stuff that increase in value. Cars and disposable decrease in value. They're first a lower asset, but after a while they depreciate. They depreciate and become a liability. You know? So, yes, Bill Cosby said that to Oprah, and Oprah caught on. Now, those are personal examples of success. That's individual wealth. Collectively, it's a failure. It had no community value, no value in Hempstead. See, that's important. This is why Bill Cosby was pushed around. Bill Cosby understood generational wealth. Bill Cosby understood. He made that move to get, NBC. And then Bill Cosby went to go buy an old money place on right where that penthouse I visited. Bill Cosby went to go buy a unit there. He went to go buy NBC. I think that was in the 80s. That old money place on the Upper East Side. On Park, like in the 80s, I believe it was. I forgot where that house was. Not a house, but you know, a property. Old money property. And they denied Bill Cosby. Why? Because that's their protection. That's their legacy. That's their generational wealth that they pass on. It's right over here. I'm at Eisenhower Park, right behind Westbury High School. That's old money. I call that Oligarch Alley. It goes from behind old Brookville and stuff like that, and old Westbury. They call them old. They call the places old. They call them old Westbury, old Brookville, stuff like that. All the way up to the North Shore. Those exclusive properties, all the way to Oyster Bay. That whole area over there, up in the hills. I forgot the name of the hills. I should have looked that up. All of that is old money. All the way to the Vanderbilt Mansion on the North Shore. I believe it's a museum now. We should go visit that museum. You go visit places like that. Drive through there. Excuse me. That's old money. Why? Because they collected. Bill Cosby wanted to tap into it. He wanted to break into it. To be an example for our people. Real success. Buying NBC so he could shape the programming. They denied everything for us that's generation. The Cosby Show was spectacular. It shaped America. The Cosby Show shaped America, especially specifically Black America. I was in jail when some of the Cosby Show episodes came out. We couldn't wait for the Cosby Show to come on. That was in Syracuse. We had highlights of things that came on TV, and when the Cosby Show come on, we had to watch. We had to see that. It's like seeing our family successful. One of us making it out there, like Richard Pryor said, be thankful for a nigga doing anything, even if he got to just plug in the plug. You should be thankful. You should want to see our people win collectively. And that's why we need generational wealth. We need establishment. We need to be more established. And once we establish, look, let's hold them responsible for what they have devitalized in Hempstead. Let's get compensation for it. And it starts at $1 billion. $1 billion for us to invest in infrastructure and institutions and private schools dedicated for us to become established. The key word is established. You go look around some of these towns, the white, arrogant Caucasians. I think this is it. It's signs around here that said it's settled. They settled. You took, you robbed, you stole, you murdered, you kidnapped, you held us hostage on plantation. You murdered, outright raped native people on this land by the millions. And then after you did it, you called it settled. That's not settled. That's a conqueror, a robber, a murderer, a thief, a vagabond, a vandal, and a crook, and a snake, and a devil, and a demon. Who did that? Nothing honorable about what you did. You broke every treaty with our native people. And now you got $5 Indians getting the proceeds and benefits and grants that native people are supposed to be getting. A lot of them are Caucasian people masquerading as native people. They mix one of them, they're married or something like that, and they make sure they go get those benefits. They make sure they check the box. You let us get reparations, Native Black Americans, a whole bunch of people. Don't you know Hempstead is considered, I think it's 1.5% white, something like that. I don't think it's 10%. I forgot the number. It's a minimal number of Caucasian, white. And those are not European Caucasians. Those are Latina, Spanish, mixed race, so-called Semite, so-called mixed race, immigrants coming to America, mixed with black and all type of stuff, calling themselves white. That's why they have that option under there. White, Hispanic white, the white natives distinguish them. They distinguish themselves from them. You try to distinguish yourself other than black people trying to get closer to white. But they straighten it out on that form. You Hispanic, non-white, yeah, you non-white Hispanic. You could be a white Hispanic, but you ain't white. That's a separate category. That's control your community by controlling your politicians. And that's to have the aim for establishment, which we don't. It's going to get worse for us. And this is a message. This is a warning. This is a sounding an alert. This is an alarm that it's going to get worse before it get better, because we still trust this system. After the conversation, a Black Mecca. What is that? A new approach. A new approach is taking our talent and stop the corporatists, the corporations in this nation, they are soul subduers. They are ghouls of energy. They have a twisted sense of self, a twisted nature that give them greedy and lust for power and control over others. And what is that? What is actually power? It's your energy. Your energy is, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go exert myself, I'm going to put all my effort in here and my time. Time and effort. That is your energy. And that movement and manipulation of that movement is power. We give everything to them. And they give us nothing but a hard time, a hell of a way to go. And a twisted promise that is better. It's not to use the words diversity and inclusion. It's never been diversity and inclusion with us. Because it's been white, it's been European culture. They have imposed European culture on us. We mainly black white people. Black skin white people. We're cavemen. To be an American is to be a caveman. It's a cavey way. Greed, lust, over-sexualized. Racism, hatred, classism. All of that is in the fabric of America. We got to utilize our own talents. We got to take our energy and put it towards building institutions. And we have to establish institutions that create generational wealth. We have examples. Excuse me, some water again. We have the examples. Black Wall Street, them all black towns we built a century ago, over a century ago. Actually, it was after slavery started. But they climaxed in apex in the like the 1920s. They were all raised. We were successful in the towns. We were industrious. We were doing for ourselves. We didn't have no heavy police there. Ask yourself that. Think over that. We had all black towns. They come up from slavery with nothing. They had big families coming out of slavery. If you were lucky to keep your reconnect to your family, they scattered us apart during slavery, but during those last years, we went looking for our families, and we found them. We went to new places. We built our own black towns and started our own new places. And go look at the movie Rosewood. And also Buck and the Preacher. Remember Sidney Poitier? That was in the 70s. Buck and the Preacher, Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier, Buck and the Preacher. It was about us in the all black towns and being raised. And ran out and we fought and we resisted. We didn't have no over-policing in them towns. Go look at Rosewood, because we were simple, we were prosperous. We were so prosperous, the local Caucasians, the whites in those areas were envious of us. We had more possessions. We were more decent, more self-respectful. And in those all black towns, we had guns, we had weapons for hunting, a little for self-defense. Any self-defense weapons came from what? World War I. Those of us who participated in World War I, there was a few of us. And what happened when we walked in them all black towns, putting on that uniform to show our camaraderie with these Caucasians in America? They lynched us in a World War I uniform. Black men were lynched in this country. That's when they took all our land, millions of acres. That's when they started taking our land, excuse me. They started stealing our land. They started stealing that land. 12 million acres. They owe us that. Why? Because we haven't been in control. Our politicians. And we have not established institutions to guarantee our generational wealth. We need a black union for our workers. You're going off onto these distant places. And we got a disease and a sickness, and it's our weakness to where we feel we have accomplished something by making it. We actually call it making it out the hood, out the ghetto. I've made it a bad neighborhood. We call it a bad neighborhood. A lot of us have this complex. And then we go into good neighborhoods, good schools, good food, good this, good that, good everything. Except what you see in the mirror. That's where it starts. We had the all black towns. Then we had in Harlem, the Harlem Renaissance. You think jazz exploded. We had a whole bunch of black businesses in Harlem during the time of Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey didn't produce anything for us per se, as much as he came and filled in the vacuum of organizing us. We had all those businesses, all those all-black towns. He was excited about Booker T. Washington, what Booker T. was doing at Tuskegee, or George Washington Carver, and all our greats. Marcus Garvey admired what we were doing in America. That's what brought him here. He came to meet Booker T. Booker T. had passed. They took Booker T. out. Marcus Garvey came in that vacuum, and we wanted a strong leader. We didn't have no strong leader. So we gravitated towards Marcus Garvey. And we respect him and we honor him. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to respect and honor Marcus Garvey. We call him the Honorable Marcus Garvey, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we are in unity with them. We had all that industry. Go look at the ads in Negro World. I just looked at the Stromberg Libraries, Preservation and Archive of the Negro World newspapers. That's Marcus Garvey newspaper. And go look at the ads in there, and the pictures and everything. And it's interesting. And we were just moving, man. That was us. And the FBI was formed in 1908. And it was formed to take down that movement in us. All of it was planned, you know? But what did we do in Harlem? The Harlem Renaissance. That was beautiful. But it was musicians. And we played in little clubs. We were successful when they called it the Chitlin Circuit, with those musicians, blues, and mainly jazz in Harlem, and dance. And we had those clubs. But we wanted to serve white folks so bad. Because we felt that these people have the power. And we admire them for power. And let me bring this up before I go on to the banking incentive of establishing bank. We got the control. We have our utilizing our talent, our energy for ourselves instead of giving it to others. Let me go into how this energy, how our talent, we have to, and then when we do get it and we pool it and we get it into institutions, then we have to negotiate sending it out. We have to negotiate that. We got to just stop. Oh, I want to be next. You're filling out the application and you're going for the contract. You'll be getting robbed ever since then. All them early jazz players in Harlem in the Renaissance, all of them got robbed. They got some low, low pay. Famous black Count Basie, all of them, Lionel Hampton, all of them. Everybody. All of them. Blues, Muddy Waters. Go look at, not Cadillac Records. Oh, that was Cadillac Records. That's right. And Cedric the Entertainer played in that. Played the bass player. And that was Muddy Waters, Cadillac Records, yes. I'm thinking Dreamgirls with the Cadillac dealership with Eddie Murphy in them. Played mainly like Motown. But Cadillac Records was Muddy Waters and Chess Records in Chicago. Muddy Waters came from Mississippi. That's with Delta Blues. All of them got robbed. All black entertainers and sports people were getting stiff, getting robbed, getting taken advantage of until the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, through his son, Herbert Muhammad, protected Muhammad Ali. It's Muhammad Ali that started getting the right contract. Why? Because Herbert Muhammad had an army behind him. Herbert Muhammad went in negotiations with Captain Yusuf Shah and everybody. He had strength going to negotiate with them. The mob even told. The mob controlled boxing. It was white reporters. And that white media used to say, now the Muslims control. They said control. They said the Muslims control boxing. Nobody else controlled boxing but the mob. It was corrupt. They were taking falls and stuff. And I think it was Sonny Liston too. Jack Johnson and stuff. Jack Johnson was magnificent. Jack Johnson stood up. He was an outstanding, what you call that? Exclusion. He was, he was an outstanding exclusion. He didn't. He stood up for his Jack Johnson. Called him undeniable blackness, and he was a king. Stood up. All of those boxers, everybody. Sonny Liston went back to being a mob enforcer for people the mob after he lost his crown to Muhammad Ali. But Muhammad Ali guaranteed them great contracts. The mob even told Muhammad Ali when he was Cassius Clay. Remember Godfather of Harlem? Did you see that? Excuse me. Remember the Godfather of Harlem? Excuse me again. I'm fasting, so I'm thirsty, dry, and I'm in the shade. So the sun ain't getting me. And the Godfather of Harlem, Cassius Clay, told Malcolm X, look, the mob said if I don't throw the fight, who was that, Chicana? Had kidnapped him. Sam Chicana, I believe his name was. He said, if I don't throw the fight, they're going to break my legs. And Malcolm got that message back to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he said, well, you tell them that they got legs too, but we're going to break their legs. We had the fish program, the Muslim fish, H&G Whiting, where we were bringing in, I think it was 1 million tons of fish a year. Brother Elder Thomas, may Allah be pleased with him, out in Bay Shore. Brother Thomas passed a couple of years ago. He was the trainer. He was one of my master teachers on positive self-images and leadership. He was one of my master teachers in leadership, Brother Thomas. He had his own home oil company, where he would sell home oil. He had his own company before he passed out in Bay Shore, southeast. And he was the trainer of the brothers selling the fish program. That fish program had like 1 million, I don't know if it's pounds or tons a year, bringing in from the docks. We had fresh whiting from Peru and other products and stuff. And we used to bring some of the products into New York, the tri-state area, into the Brooklyn docks. And the mob one day decided, look, let's go and shake them down. Let's go and cut them off from delivering their fish from the docks. And the mob went out there. Captain Yusef Shaw brought 100 brothers out there, suit and bow ties. Said we'll deliver our own. They were sabotaging the loads. The mob. They were sabotaging the loads, saying the union need to do this. We taking it over. They started kicking in boxes, letting the fish go bad. Yusef Shaw brought 100 brothers on the dock, took over the dock, and took our products, put them in the community. The mob hijacked, stole. I think they didn't carjack. I think they stole one of our Muhammad Speaks delivery trucks that delivered to Muhammad Speaks. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad found out that the mob took it and who it was, and he sent them a message. Have my truck back by 7 o'clock in the morning. I think it was there 6 o'clock in the morning. They delivered at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's how you deal with people. That's how you deal with Caucasians, whites, these police, these corporations, these planners, these developers. That's how we deal with them. Minister Farrakhan, when the mosque was invaded, they literally invaded the mosque in Harlem in the 70s, murdered our brother. But our brother murdered one of their asses, a no-good cop coming in to kill in the mosque. Storming in the door, shooting. The brothers took their ass, took their guns from them, and murdered the cop. Threw his no-good ass out into the street. Minister Farrakhan was in the mosque upstairs. He came down the stairs, said he saw a cop with a gun. I think it was a machine gun. Some rifle or machine gun with smoke coming out the muzzle. So he was just firing. And he walked into that. And they had, I believe they killed one of our brothers and injured a few. That was in the 70s. And Minister Farrakhan, all the people, that was our sensei, Grandmaster Erskine Matthews, the founder of the Kasukan martial arts system. May Allah be pleased with him. He said he was there. He said, yeah, we was ready to turn up Harlem. They came out to the mosque on 116th Street and they were ready to turn it out. And we showed up and they showed out. The whole community rose up. So leave the Muslims alone. And the police, it was a standoff. Minister Farrakhan, and they asked, well, how are we going to handle this? Minister Farrakhan got on a car and told everybody, and Aretha Franklin came. Aretha Franklin came and asked, where's Jesse Jackson? Is Jesse Jackson here? Because Jesse Jackson was a coward, didn't want to show up, so she shamed him into coming. Minister Farrakhan then got on the top of the car, I believe it was, with a megaphone. You see the picture of it. And when asked the police what they were going to do, Minister Farrakhan ordered all white police out of Harlem. He said, the first thing, I want all white police out of Harlem. Every last white police left Harlem. I need some water for that. You are so weak now because you trust these others. That is control of your community. That is taking your influence. That's taking your currency, your value, your talent, your investment. Establishing ourselves in the community to be effective. To force these other people to do right by us. That's the direction we need to go. That's the direction. There's many other instances you don't hear about where we just TCB. TCB. It's a beautiful thing. Black power. Black excellence. Black love. By submitting our will to do the will of Allah. That, in Harlem, what happened? The Renaissance, all our jazz players. So that strength and power, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and our organization, our collective effort, got Muhammad Ali all the millions and millions and millions of dollars that no one else had. I think Ray Charles, the only one, got a good deal on his records, on a good deal from ABC, but they gave him his masters. I don't know if that was before Ali or after. It probably was after. And they probably gave it to Ray Charles because he's blind. And think, oh, well, he ain't no power control. They do that. But we have to come from a established effort to look at Harlem after the Renaissance, all that greatness. And then everybody else started getting paid. After Muhammad Ali started getting paid, and he was the, what you call that, the indicator, measurement, he was the criterion that others set their salary. They said, I want a contract. I want millions. All them other boxers started getting that. And that was Don King that got them that. That was Don King that got all them boxers their money, even though he's a sociopath that have that, I don't know, he has that disease in him, man, where just got to be swindling people and stuff and manipulating people. People are like that, manipulators. You know, that's the way it is. Yes, Don King manipulated people. He manipulated one person and robbed one person so bad and was doing double-handed behind the back stuff that the mob was going to kill him. And Captain Yusuf Shaw saved his life. Don King made Zaire happen. Mobutu. The Rumble in the Jungle. Was that, that's right. I think that was Rumble in the Jungle, Zaire. Rumble in the Jungle in Zaire. With corrupt Mobutu that collaborated with the CIA to murder our brother Patrice Lumumba. But that's the spirit we need when we build. We need a foundation. We need a core militancy. Everybody ain't got to be goddamn armed. Everybody ain't got to be trained. The policing have failed us. That's people capitalizing off our poverty, have criminalized our poverty. That poverty have been well engineered. They print Federal Reserve notes. They give out a whole bunch of them to their friends, and they give you a small amount. And we put our trust in that a trade of Federal Reserve notes, and that creates the value. And all our trust, you're putting value in something where you get minuscule. It's scarce to us. It's plentiful to them. That's why they get to manipulate things around. This is why we don't value land. This is why that corrupt board under Wayne Hall, with his sorry ass, gave away 32 acres of land, just gifted. Millions of dollars worth of land. That Don Monte, his no good ass, sold a little parcel of them 32 acres to Del Bus. Then he sold another little parcel. He's going to sell it to Carmen. If we don't stop them, for like $4 million, $4-something million, for a little parcel of land. You see the walkthrough I did on Carmen Place? Go watch that live I did on Carmen Place out in the field on Main Street in Bedell. And I went around the corner by the Ravelli in that parking lot behind Family Services, behind where Great Bear used to be. That little parcel of land, millions. And they lied to us and said it's stagnant land. Nobody's doing anything on it. Jeffrey Daniels used to throw that in our face. Nobody's on parking lots. Because you don't value what you have. Because all your value is based upon us trusting others. You gotta excuse me, y'all. This fast is dehydrating me. I'm getting excited too. So what can we do? All right, we take control. We become militant. We become strong. We want to establish institutions, create generational wealth, utilize our talent. What can we do in Hempstead? Using our talent, we have African dance, we have Native Black American dance, and we have theater, and we have sports and entertainment I don't like. I think those require bigger arenas, but the big Black Negro League was successful. We lost it through the integration. Jackie Robinson, we all follow Jackie Robinson. Come on, Jackie Robinson. He broke that move broke an entire league. We had a black league. Go watch the Richard Pryor movie. I think it was Grease Lightning, something like that. Richard Pryor and Pam Grier, something like that. And no, it's just something else. It's a different movie. Richard Pryor played in the Black Negro League. He was a player. And they were traveling around the country to the other venues. We couldn't go in the white hotels, but we had a beautiful time with ourselves. I'm on some bleachers here now. We'd be up in the bleachers selling our own products and stuff, selling our own food and snacks, enjoying a beautiful game. It was magnificent players that were superior and outstanding to the Caucasian League, which was nothing. We brought all that life into the Caucasian League. Jackie Robinson was stealing home. And what did they do to Jackie Robinson? They tried to beam him with the ball, hit him in the head with the ball all the time. So the sports, I think something that doesn't require such big venues first, something smaller, more established. You know, with our culture, something that's easy for us to do. Maybe the entertainment, the dance and song, we do that so well, you know. Venues like that for a convention center, for all our people to come together, have all our meetings in a black convention center. A world-class, cutting-edge, state-of-the-art convention center / cultural center, any other thing we do to train our people in culture. Clothing, they have African materials. And then, in our ingenuity, we got to have a new approach. We got to create our own new clothing. It's European clothing and stuff. Let's create new things. We have to do it. That's the only way. Because we have to niche the market. What markets do we niche now? Sports, entertainment, and ceremonial and token ceremonial business people, you know, individual, a billionaire, millionaire here, Jay-Z, whatever, he's going in the NFL. He's doing it in the NFL. Come in the hood, build an industry, like Ice Cube did with the league. Ice Cube is trying to form his own league. I believe Jay-Z may be even working with him with that. That's beautiful, but stop getting out of these big things. They can be taken like that. We need things more established, more institutional. We can do it. If we love ourselves, Wouldn't you like to see your own clothes, your own products and stuff? And this is just the start. Start things with the necessities and things that we are so talented at that come so natural to us, things that we do, art and even theater and stuff to entertain ourselves and good things. Look at the freak shows they're putting on TV. I was just listening to some young girls listen to this music, man. They just vile and they're broken, and it's a cry, and it's a desperate cry for validation. That's what it is. I witnessed that yesterday. Our youngsters have a desperate cry for validation because we're not empowered. They don't see their parents doing empowering things, doing great things. You know? We can brag about our clothing. And we have the president, Minister Farrakhan, have developed luxury money, good home friendship in all walks of life, and friendships around the world for us. Minister Farrakhan have done this. He started with Gaddafi. Gaddafi was a beautiful brother. Speaking the same thing else, boys. Brother Gaddafi was such a beautiful brother. He wanted to unite Africa with our own gold currency, our own. He produced a car called the Libyan Rocket. Did you know that? Brother Gaddafi manufactured a car in Libya years ago called the Rocket. It was a luxury car, luxury sports car. Gaddafi did that. Gaddafi did it. The biggest waterworks in the world. They bombed the infrastructure during Hillary Clinton's evil act there. That was Hillary Clinton. She loved it. She even cackled about it. Cackled like Kamala Harris. We saw, we came, he died. That witch said that. Brother Gaddafi was an Arab, a proud black man Arab. Arabs ain't necessarily white. Arabs are Semites. But the original Arab, the original everybody around the planet Earth is black. Gaddafi was a proud black man and a proud so-called African who wanted to unite our people. He loved black Americans. Gaddafi loved black, native black Americans. Gaddafi loved us, man. He was starstruck when he saw Muhammad Ali. When he was young, he saw Muhammad Ali. And he was starstruck, man. He loved Muhammad Ali. And that brought attention to what was going on with us in America. And Brother Gaddafi, when he came into power, he looked out for his people because he loved his people. He didn't follow these Europeans. Gaddafi fell into that trap in his last days, uniting with Richard Pearl. Wicked ass. They call him the Prince of Darkness. A wicked man. Gaddafi was cutting deals with them to get back in the good. And he stopped his weapons of mass destruction. He stopped building his powerful weapons. And once he stopped that production, they took him out. That's why Iran doesn't stop theirs. Korea doesn't stop theirs. They learned a lesson from Brother Gaddafi. He gave reparations to black Americans. Gaddafi represented the Arab world, and Gaddafi said, I'm going to give reparations to what the Arab participation in the African slave trade. I thought, Muammar Gaddafi. Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, the leader of the revolution in Libya. Forgot the Arabic name of Libya. And he offered us like $1 billion of stuff. And he wanted to arm us in the 80s. He spoke at a Savior's Day. He said, black man in America, I give you many guns as you want so you stand up for your freedom. And Farrakhan declined the guns. He said, we don't need them. Because we have guns. We don't have sense. We don't have an established mind. We don't have institutional mind to create generational wealth and protect what we built. We don't have the mind. We are mainly a pool of laborers and consumers and servants. Mainly. We have exceptions. Brother Gaddafi offered $1 billion. They blocked it. That was reparations for Arab. And who did he give it to? Out of all the black people in America, you immigrants talking crap about native black people, how we lazy and stuff like that, those are the ones of you that do it. He didn't offer that money to anybody, any other black and the diaspora. He didn't offer that money to anybody. He offered it to Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, because we are an example of what you need to do. All the damn white police out of Harlem. That's the example. You ain't got that example. You dumbass, you call on the phone, you call the police. You your own undoing. You your own trap. You call the police as an armed social worker. You don't have sense. So Brother Gaddafi recognized nationalism, militancy. Well, we paramilitants, but we need militancy with the training and cultivation. Excuse me again. And once we get those once we get established with our own industry, we can trade around the world. When we produce those goods, well, we can do services here. Services will be fine. But our goods and clothing and different items and factories. But we start with selling our culture to each other. We participate. Rename it, not the Negro League, the Black. Rename it the Black League. But it'll be like how the Negro League was. Do it for ourselves. And we be proud of it. If you want to be all in the NBA, that's your aim and your goal, is to serve. I have a saying, when the state is your father, life's a bitch. You want to serve your father so much through the state. You don't want to admit that you want to serve white people, but you do it through his institutions, because we don't have our own institutions. But once we establish ourselves, we start producing, then we can trade with others, because we are the people who have been under economic sanctions longer than anyone else on the planet. Native black Americans have been under economic sanctions by Caucasians of this nation. For hundreds of years, we've been under economic sanctions. They held us hostage on plantations for hundreds of years, taking everything from us, giving us nothing, and let us out. Last 100 years, they took 12 million acres of farmland from us. Because we didn't have defense, we didn't have protection. We can never trust them to trade with them. All they do is take from us. And you still have faith in them because you don't have any institutions. You have faith in your numb father. Your father, American government, the institutions of America, your father, and he have abandoned you. You have an Oedipus complex, going back for the father. It's a love-hate situation. It's sick. We have a collective Stockholm syndrome complex. Those people cannot be put in the forefront of us anymore. We need a nationalist. We need an industrialist. We need to be more industrious, more militant. These are to be our representatives that are in code with our black agenda of establishing institutions of great generational wealth. We can do it. And then trade with our friends around the planet instead of our open enemy. And the so magician, the Caucasians in America. They're magicians. They promised us integration. They lied. It was a trick. Now they're promising us diversity and inclusion. It's a trick. All of those medical fields. Look who's niche in these markets. It's immigrants. Italians, they got their pizza parlors all around America. And they covered it in New York. They covered it garbage, sanitation, through the mob. They were working with the CIA permitted them, and drugs and dope and heroin and coming to black communities. All of that was orchestrated by the CIA. And Italians, they have they go into in their pizza parlors. You see these 7-Elevens. These are so-called Eastern Indian immigrants. They have niched that market. They employ their families in those establishments, in the franchises. It's all other type of franchises, other ethnic groups from immigrants. All enabled and facilitated by Caucasians in this society. And it's a decoy so that we will attack them out of envy of their so-called success and not the source of our pain, which is Caucasians in this country, have taken everything from us, who owe us reparations. Go look at all the other niche markets, the gas stations. It's a certain type of immigrant group there. These nasty bodegas in the black community. It's These are immigrants in there. Chinese restaurants, Asian restaurants. These are immigrants. They have niched that market. What market have we niched? Sports, entertainment, token politicians, all tokenism, all ceremonial stuff. All we get is ceremonies and tokens. Others niche markets. We are basketball players and get disrespected outright. Everyone disrespects us. Remember that Cincinnati sports team owner, that woman years ago called us $1 million niggas. I think it was the Cincinnati baseball team, the Red Sox. I think it was that owner, one of them owners of a baseball team. None of her players spoke out against her. Once we niche, once we get to trade, then we will be successful. Now, let me see, let me get to the last portion of this here, 7:21. It's starting to get chilly out here, but it's beautiful. It's still good. It's not windy at all. I'm in the shade. It's nice and quiet. A few people coming by. But my last subject here is the purpose of policing. We will not be policing our communities. We have to do it differently. This is American policing of black people is a failed system. Excuse me. It is a failed system. They've made it illegal for us to be black. All these laws, Jim Crow, black codes, all those laws were against us being black. Housing, employment, all these laws, they have to make these laws to protect us. Optically, not substantially. They have made it illegal for us to be black. They have made it illegal for us to congregate with each other. Did you know that? For decades, black men standing together outside somewhere would be disassembled. Some no good white cop will come along and he have the term, keep it moving. That happened to us. That was to us. So we wouldn't plan. They didn't want us planning. Black, all of our expression is made taboo and illegal because Caucasians didn't relate to it. When we used to get together and hit the beat and rap, we used to do it in staircases. We didn't have jobs and stuff. So we did, we took out our pain on weed and 40s. What did young brothers do? We would get together, we would start rhyming. And by the way, the birth of hip hop, we have it as the birth date of DJ Kool Herc doing the party at Sedgwick houses in the Bronx in the early 70s. That was when, I would say it emerged. I wouldn't call it the birthday. I'd say that's when it emerged. That's black youth expression. We don't have self-realization and expression in this society. There's always something inferior. There's always something weak, something last, something at the bottom that we should be thinking about. But when we talk about grand things, it's always suppressed. And we were doing rap like that for decades in the 60s. I remember it as a child. We used to do the ham bone. Have you heard? We would do the beatbox on our body, the body box. You know how some people go? I think he used to go, I can't do it now because I'm not sitting right. But we used to smack our bodies and our chests and go ham bone, have you heard? Mama gonna buy you a mockingbird. And we used to come up with all type of variations and iterations of that. Ham bone. That was like rapping. And we would do little iterations and little, and even our elders did it. Everybody in the family did that, especially black youth. We were excited to do that. That was like a little rapping. And when we heard Ali rhyming and rapping, his poetry of rhymes was a sort of rap. And we had raps about that. So hip hop as a culture, you know, we respect Kool Herc. That's our brother. He was there and stuff. But to go put a birth date on it like that, it's kind of like, you know, it's open to discussion because we've been, you know, but hip hop literally in this last iteration is, in this last iteration since the 70s, the early 70s, in the 60s. Go look at James Brown. He was doing a concert, and on stage, some of the brothers jumped up on stage. I think it was in Chicago. And the brothers jumped up, so-called gang, youth organizations, they're black youth organizations, got on the stage and started strutting, started like bopping. Some people call it pimp strutting. Walking hard and bopping, showing out on the stage. And the security was going to take them off. James Brown said, no, let them brothers be. I remember that. We want expression. We weren't having expression. That's why we were attracted to the Father Allah, or the Clarence 13X. May Allah be pleased with him. He lives. He lives in us who early on went into that teaching under his leadership. I didn't know him. I'm talking about the brothers that was teaching me in '79 in the early '80s. It was beautiful. 5%ers. Why did we go to him? Because we found expression. We found knowledge. It changed us. It changed us. With me, it didn't go deep enough, but it was a seed that later Minister Farrakhan cultivated. Boom, that blooms. James Brown pointed that out. The brothers wasn't expressing themselves. Where were they showing young black men in the 60s? On TV and stuff. You didn't see us anywhere. We had no black youth expression. So that was suppressed for decades. So now James Brown comes with his music, and then in the 70s we went into gangs. I remember them gangs. In Hempstead, the graffiti was still on the wall in the alley on Main Street as far back as like 2000, like 7, something like that. I remember. Me and my sister Ruth, we was walking, I was walking the Main Street, walking through that alley by the store with the mirror glass, the brick wall, the brick store. It's an alley that had graffiti on there, and my graffiti was in there from the early '80s. I had graffiti on that wall, and the Warlords was there, and MC Henry was there. MC Henry used to go tag crazy with a magic mark all over the place, and the Warlords used to take spray paint and write their name. That's marking territory. That's expression. That's what? That's power. It's mine. It's my area. It's weak, but it's a manifestation of something that we want self-realization. We want power. We want recognition. We want validation. That was suppressed. So black youth expression and realization was suppressed by all churches, even the Nation of Islam. Black youth didn't have no outlets there that were openly youth. All that was contained in the nation, in the mosque, which was prosperous, industrious in the nation, and ideal. But I'm talking about black youth expression. This is when the Father Allah came about. He said, you God. The black man is God. And that opened our eyes and told us to team up together. And started teaching them brothers serious knowledge. And he focused on the youth. And where is that expression manifest? Hip-hop, early hip-hop. The Supreme Team. Huh? Brand Nubians. Poor righteous teachers. Them was the most. Rakim. Rakim, G-O-A-T. Matter of fact, Rakim is in a category almost by himself because he's a rapper's rapper. Rakim was a rapper's rapper, a lyricist. He was in like a league of his own. Rakim. He had the knowledge. See, some of them rappers, some are doing gangster. The Cold Crush Brothers was doing gangster rap. A little. Grandmaster Flash and them was talking street, but they was a little punked out with the dress. The punk, I'm talking not punk. I'm talking about the dress punk. That was a movement. The punk movement in New York City. Remember the Warriors? They had a gang. It was like a punk gang. A punk rock, remember that expression? Or was it some black musicians who practiced in the punk style? They wore the punk style. All them beads and feathers and fancy clothes, and it was expression. But who was the most elegant? Who was the most substantial? Who stood out in New York and dominated New York in the 80s? The 5%ers. We found expression there. And we used to do that expression where? In the schools and in jail. We would hit the beat and do the rhyme. We used to do that. We used to make mixtapes out in the street, bring them, out in the street at home and bring them into school. And the teachers would stop that. They never cultivated that. They said, let's go into the music choir room and stuff. And y'all start practicing that. Let's develop that, enhance that. Nobody did that for us, except the Father. And we were in jail, hitting the beat and rhyming. It relieved so much tension. We came up with so much creative stuff. Most of this rhyme, a lot of rhyme and culture you see in hip hop come from jail. I was in jail listening to that stuff. We would say stuff in jail, and then you would hear it out on a rap record. Because some of the best rappers come from in jail. Unless you was blessed to be on the street and make money from rapping or whatever, hip hop, you get the money and you didn't have the incentive to go to jail. A lot of us are smoking the weed and stuff, still in the street selling drugs and stuff. Biggie just never got caught. 50 did. You see what I'm saying? So 5% influenced that because that was an avenue. So that was, well, we need to develop stuff like that differently though. Whereas our youth today, they doing all this raunchy stuff, man. And the enemy have put them in self-destructive stuff. We made a song, Self-Destruction. Kumo D and KRS-One and Chuck D and our brothers from Public Enemy, Griff. A lot of good brothers and sisters was in that record. We had a few of those records. On the West Coast, it was One Gang. On the East Coast, it was Self-Destruction. It was a message music. And who else was that? Our brother from the X-Clan, Professor X. They closed the crack house down. All praises due to Allah. It was a beautiful song. Getting the artists together to represent ourselves. But when we have these expressions, we've always been suppressed. So that's what hip hop is. It's we found an avenue, we had a venue, we had an arena of expression, and a lot of them were shut down. When we had them parties, a lot of them parties were shut down. We wanted to express ourselves because our parents never established institutions to create an avenue to take our energy to manifest self-realization and our greatness. So they made it illegal for us to be black, and they villainized our nature. They villainized our culture, that expression. Stop it, don't do that. Always hindering us. They mastered doing that. It fit their nature well. They specialize in hindering us, blocking us. So they have fixed this poverty, and they have criminalized our poverty. If you're poor, you got to get something to eat. You don't have no institution to go to. All institutions fail us. They're hypocrites. These schools, you aim us low. The public school is disgusting. Hempstead Public School, and you school boards, you brag about this, man. You brag about miseducating us. And this week, Lollipop. That's what I was going to talk about, the early rappers. Some of them early rappers was doing, Kumo D used to say, well, you popcorn peanut, toy MC, when popcorn rhymes and lollipop rhymes. Some was gangster. We admire gangster, you know? Well, we have to take it, and we have to cultivate it and secure it and put it in institutions where it will be preserved, where we can take that energy and utilize it and negotiate how it goes. That must be done through a black union. Everything must be negotiated through a black union. And then when we're productive, like we were in them all-black towns, we weren't doing all this crime. We wasn't at each other's throats. We were successful. We had abundance. We were sharing with each other, helping each other out. We didn't have no homelessness. All these shootings, drive-bys and shootings. You know, it's on a 1910 Model T. They had machine guns back then too. No, they had atomic guns. Yes, they did in the early 1900s. You didn't hear us no drive-bys. Why? Because we were productive. We were industrious. We were appreciative and grateful for being under white supremacy. We didn't have that yoke on our neck. And look what happened when we integrated and fell for the diversity inclusion trick. We get the knee on our neck, George Floyd. Murdered. They're murderers. They love murdering us. That's why they love police in our communities. And we just continue letting them do it. Like it's a way of life. Because you got weak, broken people. Token politicians, ceremonial politicians. They're tokens, they're puppets. They represent the weakest and worst of us, and not the best. So when we have this industriousness going, you won't even have to police yourself. The most the police would do will look around and secure things, make sure the garbage is sitting upright, make sure things are all right, the timing and code and stuff like that, because we have stuff of value. But we're into all this crime and all of this at each other's throats because of lack of resources and no institution to guide us in the right place. So that policing, that we won't even call it policing. The industriousness and productivity and culture infused into an institution solves its own problems. You don't want to steal when you go on to work. You got something to do. You got a future, something to look forward to. Goals and aims, purpose in life, purpose. Once we have reached and fulfilled our purpose, nothing will stop us. We will continue on. And that's my message today. It's 7:36. It's starting to get chilly out here. It's still nice though. Next time I have to wear a long sleeve shirt. But come to Eisenhower Park, and but definitely come to the parks in Hempstead, and let's get events there. They always have events here. It's an amphitheater here. All type of events, you know? And then once we start building on industrialness, and you know, we can expand it to other things. Do things that others are not doing. That will be our niche. Our niche, Black Hempstead, will be ingenuity, creativity, doing things that no one have done before on the planet, as we are the best. And we'll be at the top if we would just be ourselves and love ourselves, love what Allah is doing for us. I love what He's doing for me. He got me here, He got you here. It ain't no accident you here. It's no coincidence. Coincidence is coinciding incidences. You're here because you tuned in to my vibe. It's something I'm saying that's value, that you think about yourself. You know it's possible. Matter of fact, it's easy. If we team up, it's easy. If we team up and stop trusting our enemy and oppressor and this magician race of Caucasians in America. They got a spell on us, man. Remember, I was watching the movie King Richard, Will Smith, Serena Williams, and Venus Williams' story with their father, Richard Williams. He was at that the tennis club, the fancy tennis club, and his daughters was eating some good food and sitting there at the pool side, I guess, with the Caucasian girl. She said, "Oh yeah, it's free. Just put it on the tab." And he walked up on them. He said, "What are y'all doing? Eating that expensive food?" I said, "Oh, it's free. It's a tab." He said, "No, it ain't. Don't you bite another bite of that cookie. Come on." And he took them out of there. And when he took them out there, the message he told him, he said, everything in this place got a hook in it. And that represents white America, which is being symbolized and representative now by Joe Biden, a demented, racist, broken, deceptive man, selling us dreams. That's the state of America. Allah's chastising America. We got to do something for ourselves, and we can start. You can never lose something built off ingenuity, built off creativity, through a vision. You will never lose it because you will always have a vision. And you will always keep it in that scope. We can do it. Black Hempstead. Brothers and sisters, I thank you for joining me today. May Allah bless and grace your day. With love, being with your families, and doing whatever you desire to be fulfilled today. May Allah continue to grace us. And I leave you as I greeted you in the ancient Arabic words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Peace unto you.